You want to talk a little bit about the flex diet and that whole approach that you've sort of created?
Yeah, so for research, I was looking at the concept of metabolic flexibility, which is how does your body use, say, carbohydrates on one end? How does it use fats on the other end? And how well does it switch back and forth between the two? Because even now, a lot of it is still very, carbs are good, carbs are bad, fat's good, fat's bad. And now there's even some stuff where protein might be bad. And everybody wants to only kind of go with one macronutrient. And the reality is, for fuels, you want to be able to use carbohydrates for high intensity exercise for performance. And then you want the ability to still use fat like this, hanging out, just having a conversation. So it depends on the context of what you're trying to accomplish at that time. So metabolic flexibility was a research area that I kind of stumbled into because I transitioned from engineering, and engineering, you take a lot of math. Most people in exercise phys, unless you're doing some pretty in-depth stuff and maybe motor analysis and stuff, math isn't really part of the curriculum. So we're looking for non-invasive ways to try to measure metabolic flexibility. And so that's how I kind of got into that area. And then fast forward, I started the Flex Diet certification almost like 2.5 years ago now. And it's a mashup between the concepts of flexible dieting and metabolic flexibility. I said, okay, for nutrition and recovery, here's what I think are kind of like the top 8 interventions, everything from dietary protein, dietary fat, carbohydrates, NEAT, sleep, micronutrition, on down the line. Thinking about the system of how you would rate them. So you would start with the main item that's going to move the needle both physiologically and also psychologically. It's going to be easier for people to do. And then within that, each module has a big picture, which kind of evolves about the overall concepts. So that way, trainers and other people understand the context of what they're dealing with. And then there's a 1 hour kind of technical primer. So everything you kind of wanted to know about the technical aspects of, protein in about an hour. And then there's 5 action items for each of the interventions. So for people that go through, we'll show you how to use which action item. And then it's also very specific. So when you go to work with a client or yourself on Monday, you know exactly, okay, this is what I need to do. Here's the context, here's the technical information, and then here's exactly what I would need to do, mainly geared towards, but also, without sacrificing your health in the process too.
Great. Yeah, that sounds like a very comprehensive and stepwise way to approach it. I've always been curious, can or will your metabolic flexibility change? Or are some people better at burning carbs, some people better burning fats, or does it depend on the energy systems you're using? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it appears to be pretty plastic. And by plastic, meaning that it can be changed. And most people can probably be changed pretty dramatically. And your question is a good one. So if we go back in time and look at even most physiology textbooks now, they would say, okay, you're hanging out here at rest. Let's say we're both fasted. Oh, you must be using like a pretty high percentage of fat. If you look at the actual research, I would say that that is kind of true if we look at averages. But even then, there's a huge amount of variability. So a study was done by Godecki was one, Helged one, 1999. I ended up publishing one as part of my PhD thesis, looking at how much fat do people use at rest or just a low level exercise in a fasted condition. And if you kind of combine all those studies together, what you realize is it's variable from about 20 to 93%, meaning some people are really, really good at using fat. And these are healthy, kind of recreational, like active people. Some people are not very good at using fat at rest. So there is a wide range of variability when we look at it. The good part is that that can be trained to a very high degree in, I would say, probably a vast majority of people. There's some interesting things about a ketogenic diet. You may be able to raise that a little bit further, or different subpopulations like Eskimos or Inuits and things of that nature. But within a general range, most people can probably increase that to a pretty good degree.